quiet here. I've imagined what the inside of the mind of a person with late-stage Alzheimer's might look like. Surrounded by a fog, quiet, it's empty. The video you're about to see is about Alzheimer's disease. And while this is a fundraising video, it may surprise you to learn who we're trying to raise money for. You see, this video is about you. That's right. You. You, your mom, your dad, your brothers, your sisters, an aunt, an uncle, your grandparents, a best friend. You see, Alzheimer's disease is responsible for killing 1 out of every 3 seniors. And as we all get older, after retirement, eventually your odds of being diagnosed with Alzheimer's are almost 50-50. How do you like your odds?
Face the grim reality of this disease, and the Alzheimer's Association said today the numbers of cases will reach 7.
The death rate for Alzheimer's rose 68% in the past decade.
The 5 million Americans.
It starts here, in the hippocampus. 2 abnormal protein fragments called plaques and tangles destroy the hippocampus. I can't remember the name of the movie you saw just last night. This is stage 1. It makes its way to the part of the brain responsible for understanding language and speech. Even if you could remember what movie you saw, it becomes harder and harder to find just the right words. This is stage 2. It invades the front of the brain, where cognitive reasoning logic takes place. Now a simple game of checkers, following the directions of a recipe, or counting numbers, becomes harder and harder. This is stage 3. Creeps into the part of the brain that regulates emotions. Once this happens, you are no longer able to control your moods or feelings. This is stage 4. It moves onto the recognition centers of the brain, where your brain remembers a friendly face, the smell of coffee, your favorite song. It is here that it starts to destroy your very senses. This is stage 5. It finds its way to the back of the brain. Here it destroys a lifetime of happy and cherished memories, birthdays, Christmas morning, family vacations, first kiss, wedding day, and holding your baby for the first time. Gone. This is stage 6. In the final chapter, it destroys your ability to stand, walk, balance, and even control movement. Finally, it destroys the part of the brain that allows you to. This is stage 7. This is Alzheimer's disease. And yes, it can happen to anyone.
Hello, my name is Tom, and my wife passed away 5 years ago of Alzheimer's. We were married 60 years. We had a wonderful marriage. We had 4 children, 8 grandchildren, 2 great-grandchildren. And I miss her very much. I live alone now, and it's a lonely life.
Alzheimer's is a disease, I think primarily for the old, but it's where their memory starts to go, their bodies start to decay.
It's a disease where people forget who they are.
It affects the brain, doesn't it? It's kind of the memory and that kind of stuff lost.
Disease that a lot of older people seem to get sort of a memory loss, I understand.
Alzheimer's affects your brain first, and then it takes your memories, it takes some of your function, and it eventually dissolves everything that you ever knew.
I do have relatives that are verging on Alzheimer's, and that's just what I see.
Hi everybody, and welcome to the Lift the Fog on Alzheimer's campaign page. My name is Brian, and I'm here today to talk to you about Alzheimer's disease. This video was inspired by my mom's current battle with Alzheimer's disease. On behalf of the Javad Moafagian Center for Brain Health here at the University of British Columbia, and with your help, the plan is to try to raise money for what is now being called a worldwide epidemic and a healthcare crisis. The original idea was quite simple. Being a musician, I thought, well, maybe I could write a song and make a music video that would bring some awareness to the disease, put it up on YouTube, Facebook, things like that. Over the past summer, as I was getting materials together to make this video, I educated myself a little bit more about Alzheimer's. And when I realized what the worldwide numbers were, I knew this video had to be about a lot more than just my mom's battle.
I didn't have a one moment where everything came together. I think that to me, to have the ability to have a real tangible impact on somebody's health and somebody's life was really appealing to me. I really enjoy interacting with older people. I think that we connect in a special way. And so it became very natural for me to work with old people, and Alzheimer's disease, of course, is the biggest healthcare problem in that age group.
So for starters, in layman's terms, could you explain to me what is Alzheimer's disease?
Alzheimer's disease is a progressive neurologic disorder, and what that really means is that we progressively lose what it means to be a person. And those functions include memory, it includes recognition of faces, it includes reasoning, and it includes behavior. And those are, again, really the type of functions that define us as human beings.
Alzheimer's affects all of us.
Could you briefly comment for me on any link between Alzheimer's disease and environmental factors?
We know that stress does play a role, and there was actually a recent study looking at anxiety and depression and showing that those are independent risk factors for developing dementia. When it comes to anxiety and stress in general, there are also a lot of studies that have come out showing that sleep is very important for cleaning the brain, if you will, or clearing the brain of proteins that may lead to Alzheimer's disease.
Alzheimer's does not care what religion you practice.
Is there a difference between Alzheimer's and dementia, and if so, what is that?
Yeah, this is a common cause of confusion, and in general, dementia is an umbrella term under which there are many causes of dementia. So under the, again, umbrella term dementia, you have something like Alzheimer's disease, which is the most common cause of dementia, and accounting for about 65% of all dementia cases. Alzheimer's disease actually starts 20 years before,
20 years?
20 years before any symptoms occur.
Alzheimer's a parwanisi to chuni zovana
What happens exactly in the final stages of Alzheimer's?
Well, think of Alzheimer's disease as a loss of brain connections. So what makes us who we are and makes bodily functions operate the way they do are trillions of connections between individual neurons in the brain. And as the disease progresses, you lose those individual connections, and that's why early in the disease you lose your personality, perhaps you lose memory, and because you lose neuronal connections. In the late stage disease, you lose very fundamental connections, which may affect things like heart rate and other bodily function.
Remember, Alzheimer's affects everyone.
What can people do to be brain smart?
I think this is the one question that is emerging as the most important aspect of Alzheimer's treatment currently. So what are those factors? They're physical activity. So up to 20% of all cases worldwide were attributed to physical inactivity. So simply by exercising, which is emerging as the one important thing to do to prevent Alzheimer's disease, exercising at least 30 minutes 3 times a week, aerobic exercise, is tremendously important to prevent.
So that can make a huge difference.
A huge difference. Well, we're looking for a cure for Alzheimer's disease. If you could delay the onset of symptoms by 5 years, just 5 years, you could decrease the worldwide prevalence of the disease by half. So you would go from 40 million in the world to about 20 million just by delaying the onset of the disease by 5 years. Control your blood pressure, that is extremely important, and the number to keep in mind here is 130 over 80, and that's an arbitrary number to most people.
Remember that, everybody, 130 over 80?
But you want to be less than that.
Okay.
That's something a goal to keep.
That's like the high area?
Well, it's a good area.
Okay.
But once you get above that, it's bad for your heart, it's bad for stroke risk factors, and it's also bad for dementia. So keep that number in mind.
Could you tell me what the current state and direction of research is?
Well, I think the field is optimistic that in the next 10 years we will find a cure or an effective therapy to halt the progression. However, there have been some very disappointing results recently where large trials have not shown a benefit in patients with Alzheimer's disease. And the other problem is we are not testing enough drugs. And the reason for that is that there's a big gap between drug development, which happens in the laboratory, and getting those drugs into a person. And that's a very costly endeavor. And to give you a sense of how much it might cost, we're running a trial now in using one drug for Alzheimer's disease, and it's a $13 million endeavor just to test one drug. We need more than one. We probably need at least 60 new drugs. So our goal here at UBC is to try to do at least 10. If we could do one drug a year for 10 years and have enough funding to get that done, I think we can do something really special, and I believe we can find a cure to prevent or delay the progression of Alzheimer's disease.
Alzheimer no afecta a nadie.
Right now, would you say is there enough funding for Alzheimer's research?
Funding is lagging behind. I think we're finally getting to understand that this is a healthcare crisis. The recent number from the Alzheimer's Association in the States indicates that maybe more than $1 trillion a year will be spent on Alzheimer's care, and we simply cannot sustain that. So we need to spend at least a fraction of that estimated cost on research, and at the moment it's just not enough.
Hi, my name is Tom, and my wife passed away 5 years ago from Alzheimer's. And I miss her very much. I live alone now, and it's a lonely life.
I was at a Thanksgiving party, and a friend of mine, Stephanie, slapped $25 down on the table, and she said, "Brian, if I donate to the Lift the Fog campaign when it goes live, where exactly is my money going?"
Well, this is an easy question to answer. First of all, we are going to have full transparency with this project. And the simple answer is all the money is going to find a cure for Alzheimer's disease. And what are those components? One is drug development in the laboratory, and that means basic science experiments. But the bulk of the money will go from translating or moving those findings from basic science, or the laboratory if you will, moving those findings into an early clinical trial. So moving promising drugs that are developed on the bench to a person. And that is a very costly endeavor. It requires a team of experts, it requires a multidisciplinary team, and we have all that in place at UBC. But it's costly, and unfortunately, money is the limiting factor in terms of what we can do. We're ready to get this done. We have compounds that are ready to move into early clinical trials, but we need funding to do it, and that's exactly where the funding will go.
Alzheimer's does not care what color your skin is.
This is the time where you should be enjoying life, spending time with your grandchildren.
The golden years.
Yeah, the golden years.
Not so golden.
They're not golden. For almost half of all the people in this world, retirement or old age is not golden, and we want to do something to change that.
I'm Brian's dad, Leonard.
I'm Brian's mom, Burl, and I have Alzheimer's.
How did you guys feel when you first heard about the diagnosis?
I was confused. I didn't know much about it.
I was very pissed off.
Yeah.
What?
Angry?
Angry, very angry, yes.
Yeah.
But
had you heard anything about Alzheimer's that sort of triggered that?
a friend of mine, a neighbor of his, had it. And it's not very nice.
What were the feelings like when you kind of learned a little bit more about Alzheimer's and what that might entail in the future?
I was kind of shocked. I didn't know what to expect. And I felt sorry for myself.
Fair enough, yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And what kind of symptoms did you start experiencing?
Forgetfulness. I can't remember what happened yesterday. It's always like that.
Early morning is very bad for her. And like she says, 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon it gets a little bit better, but really not that much.
Okay. What did the doctors tell you about what kind of treatments were available?
There's nothing to make it better. They just try these pills to keep it at this level so it won't get worse. And that's pretty well it.
Do you have any feelings that come up around hearing that there's no treatment that's going to help us get better?
I don't know. I sometimes, I wonder if they're right.
Are you okay? Do you need to take a break? If it's too overwhelming, we can always stop too. I don't want to.
No,
I don't want to cause.
Just go for a walk every once in a while.
Okay, all right. Len, do you see yourself as an Alzheimer's caregiver?
Yes, I do. Yes. I pretty well do everything now. She used to be a great cook, and I can't cook like anywhere near what she used to.
Does that bring up any emotions for you?
Oh yeah, I love to cook. I want to think about the start to.
Do you feel hopeful for a cure in the future?
I don't know, because I've read different things and they say no, and then somebody else say in a few years. I don't know what to think.
How do you feel about the future?
Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. Is this going to go on like this, or is it going to get worse? I don't know. It's just, I worry about Len and about my sons, you know.
It's not a very good future. Who knows what could happen tomorrow?
The most difficult part about Alzheimer's disease is you have to say goodbye twice. You say goodbye to first the person that you knew and loved, and then later on you say goodbye to the the other person who is no longer the same person.
Is the cure out there?
Yes.
How are you going to find it?
By testing and by research and dedication.
Dr. Haggard, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
What separates the Lift the Fog campaign from any fundraising video you've seen before is our Celebrity $1 Dare. We're going to give you the only excuse you'll ever need to reach out to your favorite celebrity and get them involved. So please make a donation, then go to Facebook and type the hashtag you see on the screen right now into the search window to learn more about that. And now it's up to you. How would you feel if 2, 5, 10 years from now, you found out you donated to the fundraising campaign that helped researchers to find an effective therapy or a cure for Alzheimer's disease? $1 or more. Who knows? The life you save just might be your own.
I'm Constable Brian Montague, spokesperson for the Vancouver Police Department. I'm wishing Brian's mom all the best in her battle with Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's doesn't care how much money you make.
Every 68 seconds, somewhere in the world, someone is diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
الخرف لا يهتم من أي جنس أنت أو من أي دين أنت.
Alzheimer je choroby nezáleží, jakým jazykem hovoříte.
Alzheimer's doesn't care about your retirement plans.
Alzheimer's doesn't care how tough you think you are.
Alzheimer's doesn't care about your religious faith.
מחלת האלצהיימר אינה מבחינה בין דת, גזע או מין.
Alzheimer's? Everybody. No. No. First line.
What?
Alzheimer's? Everybody. Alzheimer's affects everybody.
Could you quickly explain exactly what is Alzheimer's disease?
Well, there's a buildup of beta amyloid, and APP is cleaved by gamma and beta secretase, which then turns into an oligomer, and that binds to what we think is prion protein, which is the A beta receptor. That in turn turns on fin kinase, which is inside the cell and causes excitotoxicity, and we think that there's an interaction with an NMDA receptor, which needs to be modulated.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. What? Oh, you didn't understand them? Fine.